Fakafanua, I'm really happy and honored that you have some time for me today. The reason why I have you is just to ask you a few questions of the vote of no confidence. But before we get to that, I'm actually kind of interested in, and I know the people that follow us at Radio Nugalofa 8.6 and listen to us are interested in your political career. Have you always wanted to be a politician? Now you're the Speaker of the House. I'm going to start off some personal questions.
Have I always wanted to be a politician? No. I think it's just something that was thrust upon me, and it comes with the family. So my grandfather, my great-grandfather, the whole family's been in politics, and it wasn't really something that I wanted to pursue. I actually wanted to be an airline pilot, but I'm not. Yeah.
In pursuing going into politics, I know and I've read that you were very young when you went into politics. And to my followers and my listeners and my dynamics and my platform is mostly the youth. Something that they would love to hear direct from you, and I know you have spoken directly to our youth, and you're very much involved in the youth parliament and also women's parliament. Something that you want to say is when you were starting some journey, some ups and downs that you went through that got better with experience, is what I should say.
Yeah. Well, I think it takes a big change in your life to really give you direction, especially as a young youth. The biggest change in my life happened when my father, the late Fakafanua, when he passed away. Suddenly all these responsibilities were brought upon you. So from that, I basically had to step it up. And there was a vacancy in Parliament 1 year, and I was encouraged to run. And my peers from Hapai, the nobles in Hapai, decided to vote me in. And it all started from there. So I think I was 24 or something like that, 23. Yeah. So I became a noble of the realm at 21, and then got into Parliament a few years later. And then I was surprised. The Lord Lasike lost his seat because of his case. And it was Lord Mafu who nominated me. And they came as a shock because I was the youngest member in Parliament. I'm still the youngest member in Parliament, but I was a lot younger back then. And the members of Parliament on that year, they had confidence in me and decided to take a gamble and vote me into becoming Speaker. And I guess the rest is history.
And being Speaker, being at an age of the younger generation, having to monitor your fellow parliamentarians and like you said, you are the youngest member of Parliament. Have you found it difficult in a way where you having to intervene in some of the debates and some of the back and forth as we've all heard on the radio?
I can say now that I have the benefit of time. I've grown a few grey hairs now, and I've been in Parliament and in politics for about a decade now. So there's a lot of wisdom now that I would wish I could impart on my younger self. But looking at when I started in politics and Parliament, I came in quite unsure of myself, not too sure of how things really worked. So the first few years in Parliament, I spent listening to my elders, learning the ropes on how politics works. And of course, during that time it was very, very heated. I mean, we're talking about before 2010, leading up to democratic reforms. So yeah, it was a bit like baptism by fire. Suddenly you had to rise up to the occasion, stand up for what you believe in. But I think it's important to take time, first of all, to know where you are, where you're positioned, personally, where you think you fit in. And then maybe if you have aspirations, you can try and track out where you want to take yourself into the future.
Lord Fakafanua, you mentioned something on a press club that we did a couple of weeks ago, where this government, and it's funny when you mention it, when I heard it, I was one of those that like, oh, this is the first time I've kind of understood how this government worked, that it is a representative government. Please elaborate on that. I know it didn't catch that much in that live press club, and just for potential and future voters to know what this government actually is.
Yeah, well, basically I was talking about the Tonga's formal government. We have a representative democracy. We have a parliamentary democracy, and that means that our electors, people who qualify, I mean, you have to live in your constituency for 3 months, you have to be 21 years of age, you have to be a Tongan citizen, so as long as you don't have, you have to be not in jail. I think that's an obvious one. So as long as you qualify as an elector, you have the right to appoint or vote for your representative, and that person will represent you in Parliament for the full 4-year term, unless we dissolve or he loses his seat. That person will represent you in Parliament, and as a representative he will have certain rights in Parliament, like the right to vote for Prime Minister, the right to vote for laws, but while he is your representative, everything he does is on your behalf. And that's what I was trying to explain, that's the type of democracy and the type of government that we have. Our ministers, our members of Parliament, they're our representatives. And sometimes they might do something you won't want, or sometimes they might vote against your will. But as long as the majority of his electors support him, then he will continue to do what he does. And I think that's important for people to communicate with their representative, keep in touch and maintain contact with him so that he's clued into where you want to be on certain issues.
Right now we'll go to the reason why I've asked for this interview, and it kind of leads on to that question I just asked you about the representative. The vote of no confidence. When this was announced last Thursday, there's some wide speculation of what actually happens and what's going to happen on the 12th of January. But before we start, I would just like to ask who submitted it, and does that person have to give a reason for submitting the vote of no confidence, or it just be submitted?
Well, we do everything in Parliament according to the Constitution and the Legislative Assembly's rules and procedures. So these are like the authorities. That's the rule book that we have to, let's just say this is a game, and these are the rules we have to play by. So the rules allow any member in Parliament who wishes to make a motion for a vote of no confidence to place that motion by notifying the Speaker. And one of the People's Representatives notified me as Speaker on Wednesday. And according to the rules, I have to notify the government and the members of Parliament. And that was done by letter on the next day. So we had Parliament on Thursday, and by the end of the day, everyone was notified that there is a motion. And according to the rules and procedures, that motion has to have at least 10 members of Parliament sign it. So their motion had 10 signatures on it, which made it valid. So once we receive that, then I can refer the motion to the Privilege Committee, and the Privilege Committee will then vet the motion to see if it's appropriate for Parliament to debate on.
So come the what I'm hearing and reading on the 12th of January is the day of the vote of no confidence. First, I'd like to ask you if that date is actually true. And on the 12th of if it is on that day, can you just be able to let me know what would be the process on that day? How would the day start and where would it end?
Yeah. So back in, I think it was 2012, Lord Vava'u was Prime Minister. So when he was Prime Minister in 2012, we received Tonga's first ever vote of no confidence. That vote of no confidence took over 3 months to go through before we voted. And it was just because we didn't have the rules and the guidelines to guide us on how to do it. So as a result of that 3-month stalemate, Parliament decided to put some timelines in place. So we have 14 working days to table the motion in Parliament. Now I know 14 days from when we received the notice falls in around end of December, around Christmas time. But the rules also say 14 working days. So working days to me doesn't include Christmas Day, New Year's, and the government holidays, which starts on, government closes on the 18th. So that means that we count the 14 working days up until the 12th of January 2021. So on the 12th of January is when Parliament was deferred to. And on the 12th of January is when the motion will be tabled for Parliament to debate on. The government, so the Prime Minister, will be given an opportunity to reply. And the Privilege Committee will also report on their findings of the motion for the vote of no confidence. And basically we will have 5 working days. 5 working days to debate and also vote on the vote of no confidence.
With the vote, Lord Fakafanua, and this might be a silly question, it's just that people have been saying, they only need 14, they only need 12, what is the number that the motion, the person that submitted the motion of no vote of no confidence need for the vote of no confidence to happen?
So for a vote of no confidence to be successful, you need a simple majority. So if there are 20 people in the House, you need 11 against 9, or if it's 10-10, then it's even. So in a situation where we have equal votes, then the Speaker will have the call. He will make a casting vote. And I don't want to be in that situation. I want the members of the House to make their decision according to their numbers. But looking at January 2021, there are 17 People's Representatives, there are 9 Nobles Representatives in the House. And all 17 People's Representatives are in Tonga.
They're in Tonga.
But not all 9 Nobles Representatives are in Tonga. So there are 2 Nobles Representatives absent. And when you exclude the Speaker, because he doesn't vote as well, that means that you have 6 Nobles Reps and 17 People's Reps. So when you combine all the representatives in Parliament, that means that you have the 10 who submitted they signed the motion, and everyone else.
With next year being election year, there is a lot of messages that we're getting that this vote of no confidence might be premature because next year, say if you guys do the vote of no vote of no confidence, it is successful, then a new prime minister is voted in, and then that prime minister has got potentially only not even 1 year before they have to go out and campaign again. My question is just your personal thoughts on these sort of comments about, is this vote of no confidence a bit premature, because come next year they'll be out campaigning and there'll be a new election.
Yeah, like I said at the start, we have to work according to the rules, and the Constitution and our rules and procedures, they allow you as a member, if you want to submit a motion, you can submit a motion. As long as you have 10 people sign, then that motion is valid.
Yeah.
And the only limitations is, I think it's 18 months after a general election.
Yeah.
You can't submit one within 18 months. And you can't submit a vote of no confidence 6 months, I think, prior to the next general election. So, people might have different opinions about whether this is the right time. Could be too early, could be too late. But in reality, it's legal. And, if they want to exercise their right according to the Constitution, it's their right to exercise it.
My final question for you about Fakafanua is just looking at you've been in politics now from a young age. You're still very young and you're still in politics. You've been through a number of governments right now. Just your thoughts in our democracy and past, present, and what you look towards the future. You've dealt with a lot of young youth, young parliamentarians when they do their practice, and women. My question is your thoughts. You've been there in the past, in the beginning of this to democracy reform, to the present and now, and how you see it in the future.
I was in Parliament when we went through the political reform, and that was a transitional period. In a way, Tonga was trying to find itself. Where does it fit? We had pro-democracy pressures from all sorts of places, and Tonga was trying to modernize its system of governance, at the same time maintain our identity in that we are a kingdom and we hold certain beliefs quite highly. I think the future of Tonga is in the next generation, because they're the ones who experience the difficult times, especially now during COVID. The political discourse has been quite polarizing, and I'm sure as a youth today, you want things to be better tomorrow. And so I have faith that the next generation will make things better and improve Tonga. And how we do that comes down to education, identifying our prioritizing our goals, and knowing who we are. I think identifying and knowing what Tonga stands for gives you the foundation to build your future. And if you don't know where you stand, if you don't know what Tonga's foundations are, then there's no way you will have any idea what direction we'll be moving forward to in the future. And just my personal feeling, I think Tonga's foundations have already been forged. They've already been built, and through our Constitution, through the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Freedom that Vava'u the first put in our Constitution. Those inalienable rights are the foundation that Tonga can build in the future. And then you look at the certain priorities that were handed down to us by our sovereigns. Te Pōwhā emphasized the rule of law and also education. And Queen Salote, we can say she created a renaissance in Tonga's culture. And we need to build on these legacies. George Te Pō V, he ushered in more democracy and gave people a greater voice. And I think it's a good thing. We need to have more involvement, more participation. And in terms of like how we do it, I think maybe people should be focusing on how to work with the resources that we have, how to further Tonga with what we have today, instead of looking at the grass is always greener on the other side.
True.
So I have faith that with education, with support, our young people in Tonga, because we have a very young demography, will show dividend in the future. But as leaders of today, we need to create jobs for them. We have to create opportunities for them. We have to uphold the rule of law so that they can understand there are consequences for breaking the rules. There are consequences for being corrupt. There are consequences for doing wrong against your country and your fellow people. I think if we just maintain, common sense, and also hold what is right, and hold on to what makes us Tongan, we'll be okay. And I have faith that the people who are watching this and the youth of tomorrow will grow up and make Tonga even better than it is today. These are just teething issues. We've only had this more democratic government for 10 years now. It's 2020. It's been 10 years. And seriously, we need to start thinking about how far have we come? What have we achieved? How has this helped us? Take stock. And I just have faith that the next generation will do a better job. We've taken it as far as we can. And I'm not trying to shoot down all the old people, but sometimes you can't teach old dogs new tricks. And I think it was Einstein who said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and you expect something else, then that's
insanity.
Huh?
Insanity is what is it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but yeah.
And I know, Lord Fakafanua, that I've seen you advocate for the youth, advocate for women, and I know that the future for Tonga is in safe hands because we've got one of our own in Parliament.
I used to be a youth, but I turned 35 this year, so I'm technically not a youth anymore.
I heard the youth age keeps going up as you grow older.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you feel young, then you're youth.
Yeah.
You're as old as you feel.
Yeah, as old as you feel. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Lala.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you.